Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's longest-serving prime minister, faces allegations of war crimes and crimes against humanity from the International Criminal Court, accused of orchestrating starvation as a method of warfare, murder, persecution, and inhumane acts against Palestinian civilians in Gaza from 2023 to at least 2025. This documentary examines these alleged crimes through the lens of psychology and psychoanalysis, unraveling the mind of a leader accused of enabling mass suffering and death. Why focus on Benjamin Netanyahu? Because the scale and nature of the crimes he's accused of, starvation, deliberate attacks on civilians, and persecution, offer a chilling case study in how power, paranoia, and a fractured psyche can shape catastrophic decisions. Imagine Gaza, October 2023. Entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. Families clawing through debris for scraps of food. Children's screams drowned out by relentless airstrikes. The ICC alleges Netanyahu and his former defense minister Yoav Gallant knowingly cut off Gaza's food, water, medicine, and fuel, leaving civilians to starve amidst a war-torn hellscape. Over 45,000 Palestinians dead, thousands of them children, in a campaign the UN has called consistent with genocide. These aren't random acts of war. They're calculated, systematic, and, according to the ICC, criminal. This documentary dives into the psychological forces behind such horror, making Netanyahu a haunting subject for analysis. Let's step into Benjamin Netanyahu's world, where ambition and fear collide. Born in 1949 in Tel Aviv, Netanyahu grew up in a family steeped in Zionist ideology. His father, Benzion, a historian and fierce nationalist, instilled a worldview of existential threats, preaching that the world was inherently against Israel. At 18, Netanyahu joined the elite Sayeret Matkal unit, serving as a captain and earning wounds in combat. The 1976 death of his brother Jonathan in the Entebbe raid cemented his sense of loss and duty, making him a national figure tied to sacrifice. Educated at MIT, he later entered politics, becoming prime minister in 1996 and again from 2009, leading Israel's most right-wing coalitions. Psychologically, Netanyahu's profile, as analyzed by experts like Shaul Kimi, points to narcissistic personality traits and paranoia. Narcissism shows in his belief that he alone can rescue Israel, a self-image of a heroic leader fighting a hostile world. Kimi's 2001 behavioral analysis describes him as manipulative, driven by cold, rational calculation rather than malice, yet incapable of praising others' ideas, a hallmark of narcissistic entitlement. His paranoia, rooted in his father "the world hates us" mantra, fuels a belief that Israel faces constant existential threats, justifying extreme measures. Psychoanalytically, this reflects a persecutory anxiety, where external threats are magnified to protect a fragile ego. His childhood, marked by his father's domineering influence and his brother's heroic death, likely deepened the siege mentality, shaping a leader who sees every critic as an enemy. What drives a leader to allegedly oversee mass starvation and civilian deaths? The ICC accuses Netanyahu of war crimes like starvation as a method of warfare, a tactic that involves cutting off food, water, and medicine to Gaza civilians. Psychologically, this aligns with dehumanization, where victims are stripped of their humanity to justify cruelty. By framing Palestinians as threats tied to Hamas, Netanyahu's actions suggest a cognitive distortion, where civilian suffering becomes collateral damage in a larger battle for survival. His paranoia, as Kimi notes, makes him see threats everywhere, from Gaza civilians to international courts, leading to decisions that prioritize his political survival over human lives. Why Gaza civilians? They're not chosen as individuals, but as a collective symbol of the existential threat Netanyahu's psyche is built around. His speeches, analyzed by Walid Abdi-Alhay, obsess over Israel's security, portraying Arabs as a monolithic danger. This is splitting, a psychoanalytic defense where the world is divided into good and evil. The method, starvation, and airstrikes is indirect, allowing psychological distance from the bloodshed. Unlike a soldier pulling a trigger, Netanyahu's alleged crimes are bureaucratic, issued from war rooms, not battlefields, reflecting a banality of evil where atrocities are normalized through policy. His indecisiveness under stress, as Kimi highlights, may explain delays in hostage negotiations, prolonging Gaza's suffering to maintain power. October 8, 2023. Gaza is a moonscape of devastation. Bombs rain down, leveling schools, hospitals, and homes. Families huddle in tents, their bellies empty, as aid trucks are blocked at borders. Children, their faces gaunt, dig through rubble for food, their cries lost in the roar of airstrikes. The ICC alleges Netanyahu and Gallant knowingly deprived Gaza of essentials, food, water, medicine, fuel, forcing civilians into a slow, agonizing death. Over 45,000 dead, per Al Jazeera, with thousands of children among them, their bodies buried under debris or left in streets. A UN committee called Israel's Tactics Consistent with Genocide, citing deliberate starvation and attacks on civilians. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan told PBS, "We're seeing baby after baby destroyed. No place is safe, including schools." Witnesses paint a grim picture. Palestinian hospital staff, interviewed by the ICC in April 2024, described patients dying from lack of medicine, wounds festering without care. A mother in northern Gaza told Al Jazeera, "My children cry for bread, but there's nothing. We're eating leaves." The blockade, enforced by Netanyahu's government, cut off electricity, leaving hospitals dark and ventilators silent. Airstrikes targeted civilian areas, with no distinction between Hamas fighters and families, a violation the ICC calls intentionally directing attacks against civilians. Netanyahu's defense, per PBS, is that Hamas uses human shields, but the ICC counters that starvation and indiscriminate bombing lack justification, pointing to a deliberate strategy of collective punishment. Netanyahu's psyche is a fortress of control and fear. Kimi's 1999 analysis labels him narcissistic, paranoid, and indecisive under stress, traits that shape his alleged crimes. Narcissism drives his belief that only he can save Israel, making compromises like a two-state solution unthinkable as they threaten his self-image as a protector. His paranoia, rooted in his father's teachings, casts Palestinians as an existential threat, justifying extreme measures like starvation policies. Psychoanalytically, this is projective identification, where he projects his fears onto Palestinians, seeing them as aggressors to be crushed. His brother's death in Entebbe likely deepened this, tying personal loss to national survival, making war a personal crusade. His marriage to Sarah Netanyahu, described in media as volatile, may amplify his stress. Her influence, as seen in Case 1000's allegations of accepting lavish gifts, suggests a shared sense of entitlement. His political survival, tied to his far-right coalition, fuels his alleged prolongation of the Gaza war, as Dahlia Scanlon told The Guardian. Israelis rally around him during conflict. This aligns with malignant narcissism, where power is clung to at any cost, even if it means mass suffering. His indecisiveness, noted by Kimi, shows his delay in appointing a hostage negotiator, leaving captives in Gaza while he prioritizes his image. The ICC's investigation began in 2021, focusing on Palestine's occupied territories. By April 2024, ICC staff interviewed Gaza hospital workers, building a case against Netanyahu and Gallant. On May 20th, 2024, prosecutor Karim Khan filed for arrest warrants alleging war crimes and crimes against humanity from October 2023 to May 2024. On November 21st, 2024, the ICC issued warrants citing starvation, murder, and persecution. Netanyahu called it an anti-Semitic act, per PBS, claiming Israel was defending itself against Hamas's October 7th attack. The warrants, classified as secret to protect witnesses, were publicized due to ongoing violations per the ICC. All 125 ICC member states, including the UK and France, are obligated to arrest him if he enters their territory. Netanyahu remains in power, untouchable in Israel, where public support surges during conflict. His corruption trial, ongoing since 2020, accuses him of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, yet he's dodged conviction, testify in December 2024. The ICC warrants limit his travel, branding him a pariah in 125 countries, but the U.S., a non-member, offers a safe haven under Trump's administration. Philosophically, his case pits free will against determinism. Sartre would argue Netanyahu's choices define him, His refusal to negotiate peace or halt Gaza's suffering reflects a deliberate embrace of power over morality. Yet, a deterministic view sees him as a product of his upbringing, loss, and political pressures, his psyche shaped by fear and entitlement. His lack of remorse, evident in his defiance of the ICC, suggests a mind insulated from guilt, a hallmark of narcissistic pathology. The question lingers, is he a monster by choice or a man trapped by his own demons? Gaza lies in ruins, its people starving, its children buried under rubble. Netanyahu's legacy is one of division, hero to some Israelis, war criminal to the world. Amnesty International's Agnes Calamar called the ICC warrants a historic breakthrough, but justice feels distant. The surviving Palestinians, like the mother who spoke to Al Jazeera, live with trauma, their lives shattered by policies Netanyahu allegedly endorsed. His story is a warning. Unchecked power, fueled by paranoia and narcissism, can unleash horrors that echo for generations. It leaves us breathless, our hearts racing, wondering how a leader can justify such devastation, and whether justice will ever catch up.